Okay, it is 10:04 and I'm going to call the annual meeting to order. I'm Brent Ward, the president of the POA, and I welcome all you guys. I think we broke another record, so welcome to the annual meeting. A couple of housekeeping items. Becky, we have question cards that have been routed around, and who receives those? Becky does. We're going to do something a little bit different this year in that I'm not going to answer all the questions. We will address all the questions by distributing those amongst the board members, and then different folks can read those, and we'll answer all the questions. So we've got an outgoing. Jack, what are you doing? You running off? Oh, okay. While you're standing, we do have an outgoing board member, and we've got a. Are we ready for that? Okay, I'll turn this over to Leslie. Jack, thank you for your service, and he's rolling off the board this year. I'll turn it over to Becky. Becky, Leslie, sorry.
That's all right. Hey, Jack, you want to stand up for me? We're going to get your exercise.
You just sat down.
So a little over 9 years ago, this man made the mistake or took a great step forward. We think a great step forward, and it's my understanding that he started out on a homeowners advisory committee, and I understand you did a great job with it. I wasn't even here at that point, but you did a great job with it. I know that you've done 9 wonderful years for this community serving on this board, and we really, really appreciate everything that you have done. So we have, as board members, we've all kind of gotten together and got a little something for you, and we thank you for your service, sir.
Do I get to give a speech? Okay, the next thing. Oh, Jack, you want to say something? No? Okay. You guys sit down. I'm going to give you a rest real quick. But I would like to call everybody's attention. We start at 10:04. We were supposed to close the polling or the ballot box at 10:10. We'll extend that to 10:15 since we started a little bit late. But then we need to get the votes over, get them counted, and while they're counting the votes, we'll answer your questions. There's another attendee that I'd like to recognize real quick, our former director, Maybeth. Where are you? Okay. So Maybeth, this is her birthday weekend. So real quickly, happy birthday, Maybeth. Okay, so with that said, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. And we've got the Boy Scouts that's going to walk the flag up, and Jacob is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So he's going to bring the flag up to the front. Thank you, Jacob. I will point out Jacob is a student over in Flower Bluff and the son of Daryl Scanlon. So good job, Jacob. Okay, we have a few guests here today. Chief Markle, where are you? Oh, right there. Thank you for all you do. Paulette Guajardo. She was here earlier. All right. Craig Smith. Greg Smith, sorry. Greg, did you want to take the mic for a second?
Thank you, Brent. I'm your District 4 City Council representative on there, so the island is a very important part of Corpus Christi and a very special place. And for the city of Corpus Christi, we've got Chief Markle over here. We work very closely with the POA. We work very closely with Maybeth and now with Becky because you have a little bit of a handoff. We know on Village Park that the POA, William Goldston, has done a terrific job on there bringing that park together, getting a better park for this community through the POA's efforts. The POA receives money from the city for certain maintenance items, and they do a terrific job with that. So the island is really an example of how a community and its government can work together. And I want to thank all of you people and the POA for what you've done for this island and making Corpus Christi a better place. And one thing, in my district, the island represents about 1/6 of the district. But the island is very different in the way it's in a community in itself. So you have Corpus Christi and then you have the island. And so naturally I pay a lot of attention to it because it is a special place. And a bit of history for me, my family's been involved with this island since 1879. So I'm always looking after the island. I look forward to whatever the board may be, working with the POA, helping make this island and this community better. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Todd Hunter, the man in black, that's influencing people every day.
Well, it's great to be here, everybody. I want to give you a humbling experience. All politicians need to be humbled. Very good. I've lost 64 pounds by going on a diet. How about that? Well, watch your applause, because this is the humbling. I just stopped at the Stripe station, and the guy asked me if I was Bernie Sanders. So, I have learned that if you lose 64 pounds, you turn into Bernie Sanders. That's the humbling experience. I just wish I had his money. How about that? It is great to be the state representative. Let me just tell you this. There's two issues I'm going to be fighting on big time. And I'm going to be real blunt. This area was the first hit by the hurricane. Always remember, you were the first hit. And in my opinion, we were the first forgotten. And I'm very, very bothered. Thank you. And I'm going to protect the island, the Flower Bluff, Port Aransas area, because that whole zone got whacked. I am going to be checking into FEMA. I'm going to let you know, and TWIA, because you need to be placed back where you can get back. And you have paid for 40 years insurance. You shouldn't be punished now. So my message for coming to you today is this post-hurricane, I'm not letting them forget us. But where I need your help is that if there are post-hurricane issues like TWIA, insurance, FEMA, some of the relief efforts, emergency management, I need to hear from you. Some of it I have jurisdiction, some I do not, but I need to hear because the legislature will take up all of these issues next session. And I want to make sure Padre Island is 100% protected and they don't go out and raise our rates without taking care of what they should have done already. So just wanted to send you the message. And I'm stronger in Austin when I've got my Padre Island backing, and I will be there always for you. And the final thing is, I know don't talk too long because you lose votes, and so always remember what Bernie told you today. Thank you all very much.
All right, we also have Colleen McIntyre, and she does a lot for our schools out here and a lot for our community, and whatever you're doing, we appreciate you just jump from one fire to the next.
I jump from one, sometimes right into the fire. Thank you. So my spring break starts in about an hour, and I now have an excuse to eat and drink all I want because I don't want to turn into Bernie Sanders, so I'm not going to worry about it. I want to thank you guys for being out here and thank all of you for what you do and for your participation in the community efforts here. The hurricane really hurt the schools in a couple of ways. Obviously, we had damage to our facilities. One of them we had to tear down. We lost our golf tournament, which usually raised about $20,000 for us, which was a really hard hit for us. And then the bids on our building, which are going up across the street, and you can see on this picture, increased by a double-digit percentage. That is just scary in going forward. And so while our repairs to our building were done really well because we fortunately are not in TWIA, we managed to get all of our stuff done with insurance well, but losing a fundraiser and having those bids come in so much higher has hurt us. We have our big fundraiser for the year coming up April 21st, and I'd like to encourage everyone on the island to come out and support the island on April 21st at Schlitterbahn. It's Whoop It Up. It's our biggest fundraiser of the year. We have live music, dancing, silent auction, live auction, a raffle. Tickets will be available at all the schools for $30 in advance or $35 at the door. You can also get them online. You can get raffle tickets at the school. We have Tula Blue necklaces that is making a special edition necklace for the school. So please come out and support the school because it is a big part of your island. It is a big part of your property values. It is a big part of the quality of life out here. April 21st, Whoop It Up, Schlitterbahn. Please be there. And now I'm going to go pack because I have a flight to catch. Thank you.
If you have any ballots that you would like to be placed in the box, please, we're getting very close, so please add your ballots to the box.
Brent.
Oh, okay, Paulette, I recognized you earlier. Did you want to say anything?
Thank you.
Did you want to say anything? Here, say something.
I will. Good morning, everyone. I'm so sorry. I went to the wrong location, so I apologize for kind of interrupting your meeting, but thank you for having me. It is my pleasure and it is my honor to represent you and the rest of Corpus Christi. My name is Paulette Guajardo, and I'm your city council member at large. So thank you for having me again.
Okay, I'm going to circle back around to Chief Markle. Would you come up and just generally talk about the island patrol units and how things are going?
Well, good morning. Thank you for the invite, Councilman Smith. Thank you for the reminder. And Ms. Guajardo, I did the same thing. I went to the wrong building, so don't feel bad. We were driving around looking for the meeting this morning. So your island, as you know, the big spring break started yesterday. So for those of you, just keep in mind the rest of the world, the rest of the country, really does not know we went through a hurricane, okay? So we plan and anticipate them to show up just as they would any other year, and so you'll see us out there. We have a command center set up and our units will be out there. It's gonna be heavy traffic enforcement, heavy DWI enforcement. DPS is here, invited to be here, and there's many agencies that are invited to Port A, so please, everybody keep that in mind, be cognizant of that. We will do everything we can to keep the traffic flowing and to keep any inconvenience to you all who live out here and have to live amongst the influx of people if it happens. We'll do everything we can to keep you normal, right, and maintain order for you. All right, so just keep that in mind. I'll apply all the resource I can out here. I hope some of you have seen the bicycle crews out here. Who's here seen them riding around in your neighborhood? I think that's a great deal that we started the last few months. It takes about 2 hours for our bicycle team to drive every street on the island, so we're going to keep doing that. We're going to do that all summer long and make that a permanent program. I think the positive presence and people getting out there shaking hands is very, very important. So nothing specific. You know, there's some things going around the country, bigger issues that we're dealing with, a lot of training. Ms. McIntyre will tell you that we've had a lot of threats within schools. There's been an uptick of that since the incident in Florida, and we're working very hard to mitigate all those things. Just know that we do everything we can to run its course before an incident happens. So when we have a threat, we send officers, we send detectives, we knock on doors, we check accessibility to weapons, right? We all the check marks, all the check boxes are checked. And believe it or not, we've had about a half a dozen of those just in the last few days. So keep that in mind in case you see that on your social media. You know, we've had, I think, 3 or 4 in the Seaside Academy here just the last few days. So bear in mind what you see on social media. Understand that we are going to do everything we can and have been doing everything we can to mitigate any threat to your children, right, and to these schools. So I wanted to put that out there. I'm not trying to scare you. Just understand that we're going to work very hard to keep everybody safe. So thank you for being, letting me be here, and thank you for making a few comments. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. There's seats here if you'd like to take a seat. All right. At this time, I would like verification from the university that we have quorum.
Yes, we have quorum.
All right, thank you. And call to vote if there are any other ballots that need to be added to the box. This is the time, please. If you would like your ballot counted, please bring it forward because they're going to be taking the box so that we can get to count. All right? All right, thank you. And they're going to be calling names for the proxies. So if your name is called, you'll go back to Dr. Jordan back in the corner there. Can you raise your hand, please, so everybody can see you? That's where he will be calling you for you to take care of your proxy votes. All right? Would you like to call a group now? I'm going to start the PowerPoint presentation in just a moment, and he'll be calling people so that we can get your proxies taken care of.
Hear me? Okay. The people I will be calling are eligible to cast votes in this first round as a proxy. In other words, when we saw a ballot, if there was no name written on the ballot, but there was a proxy or no candidate voted on in the ballot, but this name was put down as a proxy, these people are being called for a proxy vote to cast their votes. So I have Brent Moore.
All right, next we have, okay, I'm sorry.
All right. Carter Tate. Sherry Sperling. Daryl Scanlon. Jack Solo. Leslie Hess. Marvin Jones. Nancy Pressa.
that would be it for ballots, proxy ballots, this first round. Should there be a second round, we'll call out additional names. No, please put your ballots in the voting box. If the ballot was put in the box today, I do not have your name recorded. So that will be brought forward then once the box is empty. We brought in an empty box and then not going to remove it until 10:10 or after voting is completed.
I don't want everybody to go, oh, it's right over there.
Once they get the box back into the room with the further proxies that will be in that, then your name will be called. So they're taking the box back now and they'll be going through that.
So Becky, just let the minutes reflect it's 10:26 and the ballot box has been taken. So the close of the votes is 10:26.
All right.
All right, with that said, Becky, I'd like to give you a big round of applause. You've done a great job since we hired you. It's been great working with you throughout this since we hired you. There's been a lot going on. Becky's going to give us a presentation today of the POA and kind of fill people in. I often get questions of what does the POA do? Where does our money go? Where do we concentrate our efforts? So a lot of it's behind the scenes, and look forward to your presentation.
All right, thank you. I know that you've asked for the screen to be higher, and this is it unless we put it up on something, and then I'm fearful that it might fall over. But we can't, they did not give us permission to use the one that's over there. We asked them several times, and so that was not one of the options. But we will be putting it on our website so that anybody can go and take a look at it and really decipher through the information that's on there. So that will give you a little bit better opportunity to do that. If you want to call the office, I'll be glad to go over anything that is on the PowerPoint presentation. So Padre Isles Property Owners Association, what do we do? Well, our main thing is to take care of the common areas, the common maintenance areas. So we take care of a lot of bulkhead. I believe it's 31 miles of bulkhead. We have a lot of median areas that we take care of, and if you've been driving by the area, you will see that Village Park has the improvements are already starting on that, so we will be overseeing Village Park, and that's very exciting to see that there's a lot of change going on at the park. Okay. And at this time, I have Lisa Underbrink, Sam, and Lori, would y'all please stand? We can't get through the day without the staff. Yesterday, I will tell you, we probably had about 100 people come through the door. And it was revolving constantly, and between us all, we just stepped up and we would help and answer the phones. And in the meantime, our phones had actually gone down, and we're on the phone to Grandicom and getting things taken care of. So it was a pretty hectic day, but the staff, I can't thank them enough for everything that they do for the POA. All right, our agenda today, we had copies of it. They're back there. You can still get them. The board of directors, we have President Brent Moore this year. These are all things that have gone on in 2017. Leslie Hess is the vice president, secretary. Daryl Stanlin, treasurer. Nancy Tressa, Carter Tate, Jack Charlo, and Marvin Jones. So that has been your board for 2017. We have a lot of committees. We have the architect committee, the compliance committee, safety, canals and waterways, policies and procedures. I encourage you, if you have not served on a committee, that is a way to really get to know exactly what the POA does. We would like to see a lot more committees come through this year, and we would like to see a lot more of our property owners to participate in these committees. So think about what you would like to serve on. Give us a call. We have applications that can be filled out. In fact, back in the back is a compliance committee application, and we would love to have you apply for these committees and serve on them. I'm not going to read all of the names. I hope now that it's a little bit darker. Maybe if we shut one of the doors, it seems to be a glare. That's helped a little bit. Thank you. Okay. So this is our Canals and Waterways Committee. This is our Policy and Procedures Committee. Our Compliance. Our Safety Patrol Committee, and we're going to talk a lot more about that in just a few moments. Architect Committee. And then now we come into Harvey. Everybody that's been here doesn't need to see a lot of pictures of Harvey. They lived it. They know it. They've seen a lot of the stuff. So go ahead and click. Some of the things that were reported to the POA office. We had a lot of street lights that were broken, missing stop signs, street signs. We made 138 trips to the boat ramp and to the vacant lots. A lot of different areas were utilized for a lot of the debris that happened from the storm. One thing that just is very impressive to me is we had 77 dumpster removals. They would come in, they would be filled up, they would be gone, they would be taken out, which was the equivalent of 616 tons, which sounds like a lot, but it even sounds, I don't want to say more impressive because it wasn't impressive, but just the amount of stuff that came off this island was 1,232,000 pounds of debris. So we had a lot of stuff, and that was just what the POA did. That's not what y'all did individually or your contractors removed from the area. That was just exactly what we took off of our common areas. So it was stacked up pretty high. On the budget item, I did not put the entire budget. We have that posted. You can take a look at it online. But I wanted to put a few of the larger ticket items up here and let you know what a lot of the budget goes for. We have bulkhead repairs, common area maintenance, canal cleanup, insurance. It's a large portion, a lot of the different insurances that we have, office supplies, property taxes, the newsletter that goes out. Some of you have heard that I would like to increase the times that we put out the newsletter. But to put out that newsletter costs quite a bit of money. So the more emails that we have, the more savings we can incur by being able to send it directly to you and not going through the mail. And that way, if we could put it out, we can put it on our webpage, but people don't, they tell us they don't gravitate to the web page all the time, but when they get an email, they read it more often than they would go to the web page. So that's why we're talking about maybe being able to increase and do a monthly newsletter. Water inspections, whoops. Water inspections. If you're around one of the canals, I did not get the message yesterday, but we were hoping to have all the aerators that went down in the storm back installed yesterday and up and running. So hopefully on Monday that has been complete. Legal fees, payroll taxes, postage, office machines, accounting service, canal dredging, bank service fee, telephone, and investment fees. So to run the POA, it takes a lot of things that go on to make this happen. When you set up an office, for those of you that own a business, you know that there are a lot of costs that are just incurred in running an office, and then when you have all the common areas that we have to maintain, that just continues to add to that. Okay? On the calendar, some of you in a certain area received letters from the U.S. Corps of Engineers, and we have secured a meeting. The city has actually. The city has put this together and coordinated with the Seashore Learning Center, and it's actually going to have the meeting here in this very room for us. So that's going to be March the 29th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. I just about 5 o'clock got the verification on the date for that. So they've set that up, and we'll be glad to be here to answer any questions. Next. This is the area of the range of the map. It is difficult to see from where you're sitting, so again, this will be posted Monday. We've posted it on Facebook already, but we'll be putting it up again so that if you didn't get a letter, you can still be familiar with what is going on. Okay? Robert's Rule training. There's going to be a training. It's been organized. Now, Tom was here a minute ago, or earlier. I think he was sitting back there. If you are interested in this, we're going to be putting more information out that there is going to be a parliamentarian person that's going to come down to Jason's Deli, and you will be able to take a class that lasts all day long and then get certified in it. So we will be putting more information out about the date and the time and everything, or you can see Tom about that. Town hall meetings, we're going to be increasing those. We have set up 4 dates, and we will be discussing different things. I know in the first one, we're going to address the safety committee report that we have some comparison information that I'm going to share with you today, and then we will be able to answer more questions to the community at the April town hall meeting. I've kind of already talked about the committee meetings. Please consider being on one of our committees. Island time and OTB. And I have to tell you, coming out here to work on the island, I kept hearing island time, and I understood that just fine. But I bet I said in about a dozen meetings when I first started, and I would hear OTB. And I would hear it again, and I'd hear it again, and people would say, I haven't been OTB in 2 weeks. I haven't been OTB in 6 weeks, and I'm thinking, I don't know what that OTB thing is, but what in the world? Well, then I found Over the Bridge, and so I can understand that. When I get over here and I'm working and I have to go to town for another meeting, it's like you're already here, you're around the water, which to me is very comforting, and I love being around it. So it took me a while to figure out what the OTB was. Security. The security team has met several times. They've had some presentations from a group called SEAL. Another group is the off-duties Corpus Christi Police Department. And then we have added an additional agency that we're looking at doing something a little bit different. And instead of patrolling the area, they will be going into our neighborhoods. We've asked them to come up with a proposal for us, that they're going to be looking for opportunities that a burglar may be looking at, and then notify you that you have left your garage door open. So it's kind of an education program. We're working on that so that when we have the town hall meeting that we'll be able to discuss it a little bit further with you. This you're not going to be able to read because it's so small, and I even broke it down into 3 pages, and it still is very, very small. The report is going to be back on the table for you, so when you leave today, if you would like a copy of it, you can get this. It will be on our website so that you can look at it. What we've done is we have what the asset is, what is it they're going to do for us. Then there are columns that tell you if CCPD does it, if SEAL does it, if they both do it, and then there's a comment section. This is a continuing growing document. I have been in constant contact in the last couple of weeks with the different agencies, because every time we have another question, I want to clarify it and call them and talk to them to see exactly what services that they can provide for us here on the island. And then there is a column that is don't need. So we're going to be listening to the community as to what your recommendation is, or what is it that you would like to see happen here on the island. So the safety committee is putting all that together for you. Old rate versus new rate by subdivision. And go ahead to the next one. These have been broken down, and it will tell you that it is single family water access, the old rate, and the single family waterfront, old and new. So we've broken all this down for you to be able to sit at your kitchen table and take a little bit of time to go over and look at what all of the different subdivisions have for us. Go to the next, please. So every subdivision has been broken down for you with the information on here. And you can go ahead and kind of click through those. We do have a couple of sections. It's the next one. That have no increase. Click again, please. Another right here. Sea Pine, Section A and B, and Mariners K. Those are the subdivisions that did not have the increase. They voted not to do that. So not all of our subdivisions have all of the same rates. This was something that they did not vote for the increase. Total of 5,401. Okay. Island property sales, go to the first one. Click, please. Lot sales, we have the waterfront, the water access, for a total lot sale of 181 for 2017. And the total home sales of 353 broken down for us. Multifamily lot sales were a total of 14 for the lots. And on home sales, we had a total of the multifamily home sales of 20. Sales altogether totaling your home sales, multifamily, and lots, and multifamily lots, 568. And then we have our lot by subdivision, the vacant versus built. And so on this one, the information is there, but if you'll click next, I have the totals here for you on the vacant single-family lots, built single-family lots, and the multifamily commercial. So that's the 5,401. Village Park. Is Jen Seymour here? Great. Can I have, do you have a phone so you can light up the way? All right. If you don't know Jen, she has been out in the community for several years working very hard to raise money for Village Park Playground for the children in our community. And I would like, if Jen, are you going to be able to find, okay. Yeah, we can turn on the lights at this point. I think there's only one more slide, so we're good with this.
Oh, no, keep them on.
Oh.
Yeah.
So we thank you very much for everything you've done. We'd like you to tell us what you have, what you need, and what can we do for you.
Okay, well, I'm Jennifer Seymour. I guess I don't have to yell. Can you all hear me? I'm terrible at public speaking, so be nervous with me. Okay, so Madeline and I started this about 3.5 years ago. We've had lots and lots of fundraisers. We have done pledges, we have done pub crawls, we have done raffles, we have had a 4th of July festival in the park. We even had a flocking fundraiser with flamingos and all. And we sold $4,000 worth of baked goods. Imagine that. And we've raised a little over $44,000. We need about $20,000 more to get the play structure. I actually have to write something down. Let's see. There had been some confusion with the remaining park funding. The POA was under the assumption that our financial goals were already met, and I was under the assumption that there would be no money left over after ground cover issues were resolved. So they went on with the next park project, and I don't blame them. We're all overly excited to see the park get its overdue facelift. After a few discussions, I think we may be able to squeeze the budget a little bit more for the play structure, but I'm afraid we won't get the full amount needed for the playground. So I ask you today to reach into your hearts and your wallets and help our island children get out of the house, off their video games, away from the TV, and be outside at our soon-to-be beautiful park. What's a park without a playground? And I will be here after if anyone would like to talk to me. Have any questions? I have photos of the playground available. I have a spreadsheet of everything that I've done so far, if you'd like to look at that. So I will be here. I'm going to pass this basket around. You can put your checks and some money in there, or fill it out with your name and information. I'd be happy to contact you, send you an email. If you have any fundraising ideas, I'd love to hear it. Would you like to say anything?
My name is Madeline Garner, and some of you might recognize me. I'm the counselor here at the school, and I'm also a psychologist. And we have almost 300 kids here in K through 4, plus all their siblings at the preschool. And we have another couple hundred that go to Flower Bluff. We also have a big homeschool community. So, like I said, I'm a psychologist, but you don't have to be a psychologist to know how important it is to the kids to get out and ride their bikes and climb on play structures. It's so important for their development and their mental health.
Folks, there's a bucket that's going to start on that side too, and there's already a $500 check in it, and I hope that some of y'all, the rest of y'all, can continue that process.
Hey, Becky. Hey, just one more time, I'd like to give a huge round of applause for these ladies taking action, getting something done. And Jen, I will tell you, we're going to make the park happen. We're going to make the playground happen. So I think you have full support of the board, and clearly it was full support of the island residents. It's going to happen.
Checks payable to.
Question, if you're writing a check, it's payable to the Kiwanis, right?
So checks payable to Padre Island Kiwanis, and then just make a note for Billish Park playground equipment. Okay, so thanks again. Tremendous effort.
So Jen, yesterday I spoke to Jay Ellington, the Director of Parks and Recreation, and it looks like we possibly will be able to order the equipment through the city and get a bigger discount. It's a good cause, folks. A lot of you know that I came from Parks and Recreation, so I am a big believer in parks and the value that they bring to a community. Yesterday, the Bend, we had several people that were there in an somebody, we had someone there that interviewed us and was asking what we thought, why is a park important? Well, I know Jen's goal is the playground for the kids, but a park is for everybody. A park can bring family generations together because the kids can go in one area, families can do something while the kids are playing, grandparents can go over and sit and visit. So a park is a wonderful place, and that is a great location. It's big enough that multi-activities can be going on. So please dig deep in your hearts and become involved with Village Park. Thank you.
Hey, Becky, let me interrupt real quick. Jen, you did a great job public speaking. It was a great job. And she's going to do another job at our next board meeting. She's on the agenda to update us. So hopefully you can get us an updated tally of what you guys raised here today. And then we can figure out what that gap is and figure out how to make up that gap. So.
All right, we have one more. Okay, you have an announcement?
These are the proxies from the votes cast in the ballot box where no votes were cast for a candidate, but a proxy name was given. Carter Tate, Brent Hess, and Kellyanne McFadden.
All right, the last screen that we have on the presentation is our farewell to Maybeth. And when I spent the 2 weeks working with her, I realized that there was a lot that goes on with the POA, and that I was stepping into big shoes there, that she has done a lot of good for this community. So I personally thank you, Maybeth, very much for everything. The end of the presentation. And again, the information will be on the website so that you can review it. The security information is in the back so that if you want to take one of those home, you can. And then we'll be getting back with you on more information and updating that for our April meeting that we're having for the town hall meeting.
Thank you for the presentation. So while the votes are being tallied, can we get the questions distributed among the board? And then we'll just go question board member by board member, read the question, we'll answer it if it's addressed directly to you or to others. I would say if there's any personal attacks or accusations, then if somebody wants to come up and do that personally, I'll be glad to address those, particularly if it's about me. Otherwise, I would ask that we don't get into a back and forth. Let's keep it professional. And we'll start, I'll start since I've got 4 here for some reason. And then we'll go to Carter and we'll just loop around. So, are background checks mandatory for board of directors? If no, why not? This has been a question that's been asked. So background checks have not been performed to my knowledge. I have no problem with background checks. Anybody that wants to do a background check on me I'd be glad to do that. Many of us work in organizations that already have background checks, and we're professionals in different engineering, attorneys, things like that that have ethics laws and rules and regulations. So I have no problem with background checks. They have not been run to my knowledge, and if anybody else wants to follow up, okay, we'll go to Carter. Next question.
On background checks, this board is insured by with E&O or whatever it's called. Hello? And we once considered getting each board member bonded or whatever to cover that. And what we found out was through the insurance carrier, it is the same function as being bonded board members. My question is, please explain the MMD and its purpose.
Try this.
Thank you. Please explain the MMD and its purpose. The Municipal Management District is a governmental system that takes the responsibility and liability of some municipal property. This one that we're talking about is obviously the bulkheads. The powers that be years ago determined that the most responsible thing to do with the bulkhead liability was to create a municipal management district. So there was, I don't know, I think it was $37,000 spent on legal fees to hire a specialized firm to create this system. So the entire, this is probably a way better question for John, but the entire legal work is done on the MMD. There are just a couple of glitches that need to be worked out to finish the final deal. We all have different opinions on what the value of the MMD is. But I must tell you folks that, we've just finished a repair of the bulkheads, 97 feet of it, that turned out to be dang expensive. And so the truth of the matter is that our asset, the bulkhead, is really, really valuable if you look at it that way. Or it's a huge and wicked liability. And so with $10 million in the bank, self-insuring 32 miles of bulkheads is not small. And we're going to have to dig into this and figure out what the best way to handle that liability is. But this board and all the boards before it have been diddling with this issue, and we're going to need to figure it out. And it might very well be the MMD, and it might not. Sorry, I went on. Sorry.
Just briefly, my name is John Bell. I was not the attorney paid $37,000 to do it, by the way. But I do work for the POA. That was a specialized firm out of Houston that did it. The main advantage of the MMD would, in the event of a catastrophic loss, it would enable, the MMD could issue tax-exempt bonds at a lower borrowing rate in order to help finance reconstruction of the bulkheads. There was an idea that the MMD also might be able to qualify for FEMA funding, but since the MMD would not own the bulkheads, it would not be eligible for FEMA funding under the current regulations. But the MMD would be able to borrow money at a lower rate of interest using tax-exempt debt in order to help finance reconstruction of a catastrophic loss.
I hope everyone's having a good time. Why did this year's elections results come out a month late? Well, the annual meeting is always the second Saturday in March. And in my 9 years here, we've always announced the winners on the second Saturday of March. So it's not really a month late, but property owners are like a picnic.
Okay, the first one is really, use my teacher voice, but I'll also use the microphone. I know. Now you can hear me, right? Good. Okay, the first one is not really a question, it's a statement. I want to compliment the POA staff and board for a much improved election process. Having the ballot box away from the door and signing table was a good idea. I also liked all the ballots were handled only by the Texas A&M team. And those are the college folks that are counting our ballots right now. So not a question, just a statement. Okay, the next question is, oh, all right. Since one wasn't a question, I figured I could go on to the next one. That's all right.
Okay, fire away, Marvin.
Wouldn't want to step on Marvin's toes. Here you go.
I don't have a question here before me, but I do have a comment. Thank you to the staff and the board for all your hard work. Proud of the positive attitude with all the negativism.
Okay, this one's, y'all hear me? It is my understanding that the maintenance for Village Park will be the responsibility of the POA. Is this correct? The answer to that is yes. Yes, correct. If so, what are the estimated annual costs for maintenance? We have a monthly, yeah, we're getting,
In the agreement with the city provides $14,000 a year to the POA and as a contribution to the funding, subject to increases negotiated in the future. Our current estimates for maintenance are about that much or a little bit more, but we'll have to just see how the park actually comes out and what the actual costs are. But at the present time, the city will be providing funds to the POA that they normally would budget to do it themselves for the POA to provide the maintenance.
Okay, my question is, how can the POA better communicate with the city to better enforce city codes, ordinance, maintenance, and improvement of infrastructure, e.g. the frontage road on Park Road 22 and Aquarius? And I would say that for this past year, I know that the compliance officer, Sam, has done a lot, and I know that Becky has done a lot also in trying to work with the city on some of the ordinances that are, under city versus which ones are POA ordinances. So we've tried to let the city be a little bit more involved in the ones that are actually with their rules. Can we do a better job? Sure, we can do that. I would say that in the coming time, we'll probably have more meetings with the city to make sure that we are following what the city rules are as well as what the POA rules are.
On the issue of the Park Road 22 and frontage roads and stuff like that, the ISAC committee is working with the city on a bunch of redesign of the way the islands are and some safety features, some removing of some oleanders that block a good view, and a bunch of stuff like that's about to come to light with this bond election. Anyway, we're looking at that hard. The island's going to improve.
Okay, this next question is, when is the next audit and will results be published? So I cannot tell you when the next audit is going to be, but I can tell you that it will be as soon as we find another accounting firm. Our accounting firm provided a notice of termination to the POA. So we have been in a search. We've been through Corpus Christi, other communities. And that letter, that termination letter, is available for anybody to look at, review, look at the reasons why they terminated. They're very similar reasons to the engineering firm, which is HDR, that wrote a contract termination. We'll be looking for other engineering firms to provide services, as well as some other bookkeeping. We have several things that the slots need to be filled. Will the results be published? Any information that the POA has, it's available to the owners. Anybody in this room, if you're an owner, can go to the offices. You'll be given copies of anything that you ask for or you request. There's some of the information, there's probably good reasons not to put it out on a website. But if you go ask for the information or get a hard copy or email, certainly audits are available to anybody that wants to look at them. Becky, did you want to expand on anything?
Currently, I have received a proposal from a firm out of San Antonio. I am checking references, Better Business Bureau, going and looking at their peer audit and taking a look at that before I bring it to y'all.
Name 5 things POA will do in order to be more transparent, communicative with members. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are looking at hiring a few new folks in the office. One of them is described to handle contracts and stuff like that on a daily basis, but also be very effective with communication online and printed matter or whatever. That's to say, a modernly educated communication person will be part of the job. So 5 things. Certainly open to suggestions of better ways to communicate with you guys. I guess we could improve the moon letter that Becky does and stuff like that, and get some, I don't know, we're open to suggestions.
I think something that we talked about is some community relations personnel. And anybody that on the board that wants to jump in and answer a question, feel free. This is kind of an open mic to clarify issues, and if you want to pass the question to someone else, feel free to do that as well. Nancy?
Also going to increase the number of town hall meetings, and I hate the expression town hall meetings because it sometimes has a negative connotation. I'd like to suggest to the board that perhaps they call them community coffees, community get-togethers, in which the community can exchange ideas with one another as well as the board. We do not have all of the answers, folks. We are human beings, just like you. We have opinions, we have biases, but we try to act in the interest of all of our owners. Are we going to satisfy everybody all the time? Are we going to be as transparent as Tom wants us to be or as Bob wants us to be? I'm not so sure. But we're giving it our best effort, and we will continue to do so, no matter who's on the board, I hope.
Okay, Marvin, is it your turn? No, Jack. Where are we? Jack.
The property owners would like a picnic area with a maintenance schedule. Do you have plans to create such? I'm sure that when we get a picnic area,
Jack, hold on, it says a public area maintenance schedule. So I'm not sure what the question, maybe it's asking what the schedule for common area maintenance or the park or something like that. Becky, you may want to jump in on that one.
As far as the maintenance schedule, that's ongoing every day. I mean, we're out there taking care of canal ends, the boat ramps, the different areas. So if you want to contact me, we can talk about the schedule, but it is something that is ongoing all the time. So I'm unclear as to exactly what we're being asked here.
They're asking to publish the schedule.
Of a schedule of it. Well, we contract out to different entities, which we are in the process of getting a new bid for all of those areas. And they go to the different regions and areas throughout the island, and within that month we tell them the grass can't be any higher than this, or you just need to maintain the trees. Well, if they don't need cutting that month, they don't go and cut them. So I can, when this bid is complete and the proposals come in, I can share with you on what they're stating they're going to do on a schedule for each one of the different subcontractors.
My question is similar, so I'm going to jump in. This question here is, what is the amount of delinquent common area maintenance fees, and what is your procedure to collect them? Well, we don't charge ourselves delinquent maintenance fees. As Becky said, we're attempting to get to those common areas in a systematic format so that everything's cleaned up as quickly as possible. I'd like the person who wrote this question, did you mean common area or did you mean vacant lots? If you're willing to stand up and clarify, that'd be great. If not, that's okay. Okay.
Okay, let's jump to Marvin.
All right. As a member of the board of directors, what would you do to help property owners get info on a home that was seized 8.5 years ago? Why hasn't anyone found out why it hasn't been, I think it's auctioned, or yard cleanup, etc.? So for all we have got is we have little power on the island. What would you do? Okay. I'm going to make an assumption here that the question which the person that wrote this says seized means foreclosed on by a mortgage company. It could have been seized by the IRS, I suppose. In any event, the problem seems to be that the yard is unkept. All right. The city of Corpus Christi has certain ordinances that require the city to issue fines and or go in and actually mow and maintain people's yards. We've had 2 or 3 cases of that here within the last 6-8 months. Also, the POA has some power in that regard. If they're behind in their dues, it's possible that the POA could foreclose on it. But if it's already foreclosed on, that wouldn't do as much good. Plus, it costs the POA a great deal of money to foreclose on property when the mortgage company already does that. Why the mortgage company, after 8.5 years, hasn't sold the property is kind of unusual. So to make a long story short, the city has the primary responsibility for maintaining abandoned or seized houses, and the POA has secondary, but we are somewhat limited with what we can do.
Okay, what is the final cost to the POA to repair the Primavera bulkhead damage? It was a little over around 430,000, 432, something like that, 432,000 after we just approved a final change order at the last board meeting. What caused the damage, and if it was a person or a company, has our attorney pursued reimbursement? So it wasn't a person. There were a few companies involved, and the attorney is pursuing reimbursement from one company.
John,
I'm not going to mention the company. John can if he wants to.
did you want to expand on where we're at with that?
At least part of the causation of the damage was cutting the tiebacks by when they were installing the grande cable. And we've been in discussions with them over the last several months that have been unfruitful, so the board at the last meeting authorized filing suit in order to collect the amount.
All right, this one, if you notice, I did a little conferring with some folks because I want to tell you this is the perfect example of how rumors get started. And it's a little bit unnerving to have that happen when the rumors get started. I wish people would just come and ask the POA directly. But I appreciate that you're asking the question now because this question actually results from a discussion that we actually had in an executive session because it involves employees. And people are deserving to have their certain things kept confidential and stuff. But I'm going to bring it up, and Becky knows that I'm about to bring it up. But the question is, why did Becky get a raise after only 4 months on the job? Well, first of all, that's a rumor. That's false. Now, we as a board have a responsibility to make sure that we pay people fairly and at fair market value, those types of things. Do we have discussions in executive session about are we paying people at fair market value? Are we paying for appropriate rates, those kinds of things? Yes, and we did have this discussion regarding Becky's salary as a new employee as well as our other ones. But if this went out into the market, into the community, then whichever board member told you, shame on that board member because that was a breach of our executive session because we had the discussion regarding an employee.
Okay, and I would say it looks like we're running out of questions, so if anybody has something they want to write down, please get it back up to Becky. This question, is it appropriate for a person to serve as a POA board member if they have been convicted of a felony? I think it's a great question. Right now there are no rules against that, and I think so yeah, you can add on here, but I think that one of the ways you answered this question, Leslie, it's been asked multiple times. I think the answer, some of this stuff the accusations that are made and innuendos and things like that, I think my own personal opinion is if somebody got convicted of something and did something, and they paid the price that was dealt to them by a judge and by the community, I think they've served their time, and we as a community and as people should not keep piling on. People do things, and I see some reactions back there. I might, if you're for that public shaming and for continual conviction of someone, I might ask you what you've done in your life that you're not proud of. Okay? So you can wave your hand at me and do all that, and I see now that you're clapping, sir. So I would say that I don't intend to ask anybody in here to stand up and tell me what you did in your life. Just like I don't ask anybody up here. If it's against the law, we're not going to do it. And John, you can expand on that. But I've seen some things on public media, social media. Christmas Day, we had some community members that publicly shamed one of the board members, and I thought it was awful. It was Christmas morning. I just ask you to reflect on some of these questions and things, but how do we bring a community together is one that continually comes up with this type of question. We stop doing this type of stuff. So, John, you want to expand on that?
State law provides that any board member is ineligible if they've been convicted of a felony or a misdemeanor involving moral turpitude within the last 20 years. So everybody up here is clear in that regard.
Am I allowed to say something, Brent? I would say that convicted felons are not allowed to vote. And I don't think we want convicted felons on our board. My personal opinion.
My question is, are we ever going to get a dog park? Yes. One of these days we're going to get a dog park. There are actually some fun ideas being thrown around about a dog park. I know there's a lot of efforts by some folks. We're just, it's going to take some more legwork, I guess you'd say. But, you know, it's going to happen.
Okay, I just have one more announcement. In the sorting of our ballots, we did find one more general proxy, Joseph T. Spalek. Joseph, I have a ballot that you can cast. You get to cast a proxy. Yes. And you can cast the ballot right here, and I will take it back so that it can be recorded. So if you could come up. Yeah. And I understand there were some questions as to, I know my name was written down as a proxy, but I did not get called. If you look at the ballot, if someone voted for a candidate and then wrote your name as a proxy, the candidate vote. So if someone cast a ballot on this top part of the ballot, you cast a vote and then wrote your name in as a proxy, the vote cast counts first. And then should there be any other issue, you will be called to proxy. But the vote cast by the individual counts first. So yes, your name may have been written. Somebody may have told you I wrote you in as my proxy. But if they also cast a ballot, this is the proxy for you. So if they also cast a ballot, and should there be other matters that need voting, then that will occur. So I just wanted to make sure that's clear.
All right, Becky, you have a question.
Okay. The question is, what is the timeline looking like for completing repairs on our boat ramps and their docks? Jackfish boat dock, ramp still not repaired. And we have actually gone out and received several different quotes for repairs, and we are checking references on that, and then we'll be going into the board for approval and getting that taken care of. So we're kind of in mid-process on that. And we have another one, when is the boat ramp on Coba de Barra going to be repaired? And we're in the same boat with that one. We are getting bids on that. There's a lot of work where it was a washout, and we're having to have someone come in and repair the curb that has actually kind of fallen off of the road area. So we are working on those with contractors, trying to get everything lined out and approved for repair. Okay. The next question, how many homes, lots pay old POA rates? And that was in the presentation, so on Monday that will be on the website for you to be able to get the exact numbers on that. So we'd have to pull that up. I don't have all those numbers just calculating in my head, sorry about that. But it is available for you.
Okay, I've got one, I'll give you a little rest. What is being done about building sites? They're a mess. So if you were at the last POA board meeting, we gave authorization to the compliance or the ACC to kind of restructure our rules. And Heather, where are you? Raise your hand. Brent Hess, where are you? Robert, where are you? All the ACC, stand up. Stand up. There you go. So these folks are working on the new rules and modification of the rules. There will be fines that are assessed with those. The directive was go back rewrite, reword, bring a proposal back to the board so we can discuss and then get that implemented. There's also been, I think, some meetings over the last year with builders expressing the thoughts about dirty, messy job sites. There's also been some fee increases on their deposits. So hopefully that answers the question. I have one, did Port A or Rockport suffer extensive bulkhead damage that would help us better anticipate what could happen to any or to our bulkheads? Yeah, I think there was cross-checking when we did the study with Mr. Rodino that went back and compared ours to theirs and what we could anticipate. As far as I know, personally, I don't know of extensive bulkhead damage in Rockport. Do you guys have anything to add? They definitely had damage all over the place. Everybody knows that.
You have to understand, folks, and I know you do, that Rockport took a direct hit, more so than we did. And yes, we can learn from them, but their bulkheads suffered greatly. I think it's really oranges and apples. We could say that ours are better, but we got less of the storm. So that's just my opinion.
There are a lot different ages and stuff like that over in Rockport, completely different construction stuff. But sure, we're learning from the damage around.
I will say that we have a bulkhead inspection program that we did this year where we've authorized continuation of that inspection program. Hanson Naismith is doing that. They're putting it in a GIS database where it's more visual. So when you look at the map, you can see red, yellow, green. Where it's green, oh, I'm stealing your question. Okay, so the green areas are good. The red obviously is bad, that needs attention. So that kind of gives us an area to focus on where we need to repair or focus efforts. So have they started the second phase? Okay, they completed. We authorized at the last board meeting to continue. So that's something that will continue this year. Does anybody else have one? Nancy?
Why does one side of Sea Pines not pay the same price for dues? They still utilize boat ramps and other community amenities. If you remember from the presentation, and of course the questions were before, I guess, or maybe this is a late entry, but it was explained that parts of Sea Pines voted not to go to the new assessment process. And they can do that because there's how many, 13 individual areas? 27. And they each got to vote. I think some of you were here when that vote took place. And they voted not to opt into the new assessment process. So yes, they do use the amenities, they do use the boat ramps, but they, as an individual area, voted not to use the new fee schedule.
Does anybody want to clarify or add to that? I don't want to touch it. Okay. Marvin?
All right, I've got another question here. Let me preface this question by saying a couple of words. Our bulkheads and canals are a wonderful benefit for living here on the island. But by the same token, they're a bit of an albatross in that it costs a small fortune to maintain them. And thus this question: what did HDR's contract entail, and are we looking for another company to replace? To the best of my knowledge, the last ADR contract had to do with planning of dredging. And Beyond that, I'm quite confident that we will be looking for a new company to assist us in planning dredging. We do have one pretty significant problem. When you dredge, you have the sludge and what have you, you've got to do something with. All right. Previously, we had been able to use someone's land to put the sledge on. They had a permit from the Corps of Engineers. All right. That permit is expired, so as we sit here today, we have a problem on where we would put the sledge, if you will. So we have to resolve that in addition to perhaps getting a new company to help with the planning. So that's where we sit with that. As I said, the bulkheads and the canals are very important to our community, obviously, but they're very expensive to maintain, and that's why we need a rather substantial pile of cash in the bank to deal with it should an emergency arise and your everyday expenses.
Harold, do you have one? Is it the same one that I just answered? Yeah, ask it or answer it.
Okay, not sure what's being applied here, but it says, does Becky work for Brentmore or the property owners? I'm not going to give that any. Okay, yeah, sorry. Question, does Becky work for Brentmore or the property owners? I'm just going to say the property owners. I'll leave it at that.
I'll leave it at that.
Well, Nancy, the question's been answered.
Okay, fine, but
let's
you
move
got-
on.
No.
Let's move
We're
on.
having an election today, and you're electing people to be on your board. And your board members have are charged with the duty to select the employees that work for you. So, just as Darrell said, Becky works for you. You vote for us, and you hope that we act in your best interest. You hope that we're honest enough to do that consistently as a group, and then we hire the folk.
Okay, do we have other questions? So there was a discussion right now that something that Carter Tate has recently brought up, Darrell has brought up before, Leslie has brought up, the community has brought up. So it's a recurring question. We were going to try to get it on the agenda here, and I think we missed it by maybe a day. But we would like to do a straw poll, because I see people checking their watches, trying to get to the lake or the Disneyland or whatever because of spring break. The meeting happens every year on the beginning of spring break, so the proposition has been posed.
It's in the bylaw.
Let's change the bylaws to move the meeting date to further in the month.
After
So
spring
can we
break.
just do a straw poll? What was the proposed date?
The last Saturday of March.
So the last Saturday of March is just a quick straw poll. If you're in favor of changing it to later in the month, hands raised. Yeah.
How about don't care?
Okay. Okay. So good one. So we'll do a for changing the meeting date. Let's not focus on a date, but for changing the date, hands up. All right. For leaving it the same, hands up. Okay. And don't care.
One don't care.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Did you form your opinion? Count all the hands? Yeah. Yeah, this, like Carter's saying, this is a good example of changes in bylaws that the board has the option to do right now. So, okay, any other issues?
That's to say, should we spend, $5,800 to mail everybody a letter and ask them if they want to go along with changing the date of the annual meeting? So, we're not going to change any bylaws that hurt anybody.
Okay, anybody else want to write any cards down while we're waiting? Do we have Does anybody want to take a break and then reconvene the meeting? So we'll take a break and then we'll wait for the results. Anybody, if you want to talk, ask questions, give some opinions, swing up.
Do you have a jacket at all? No.
Okay, we have results. Is it gonna take you a couple minutes to get? Okay. We are going to reconvene the meeting. It is 1:49. Sorry for the delay. Presentation.
While we're waiting, we have this inhaler. Someone turned it in. Does anybody recollect? All right. Obviously, if you know, if somebody contacts you, this will be at the POA office.
We're waiting for the projector to boot up, and then we will have it. But this is the results of the election.
Move that one. No, that's fine. Can't see it.
Nice.
I have no way of my.
Okay, and I will go in order of top vote getter. The top vote getter was 925, Marsden. The next was Sprout, 909. And Colossi, 899.
Sweet.
The last three votes, 773, Hess 659, Tressa 584. And there were some write-in candidates, but the numbers weren't worth reporting. There's the 6 top vote getters.
Strike the band loudly, Captain.
Is that amazing? Sweet. And thank you for so much for all the stuff you did, all your gatherings and everything else.
Congratulations. Congrats. Hard work. You did it.
I'm on my RV trip.
Yes. Any wonders why we want to get rid of them? Should we? Yeah, I've already had this conversation.
I'm Debbie.
luckily, after the events,
That's gonna be a big video to put up on YouTube.
well, I am not gonna.
Yeah, I'm just gonna take that off too. So, I always make that.
All right.
Thank you. Really appreciate all your time.
Spring break starts in a meeting. Yeah.
It'll all be good now.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I think they have.
accomplishments to do it. Those 18-year-olds get faster every year, though. 20 years in, those 18-year-olds are really, really fast. Oh, serving six one too. I've got 3 pages of notes to go type up. I became the official scribe. Professor has some pictures that he wants to do next time if he gets another job. So how it worked this year, the tabulation was excruciating, and he automated in any way, so that's what we're thinking about blockchain. Oh, yeah. It should be plain, like when you go to the primary, you're just there. Everything was plain. Who do you want to vote for this position? Here's your names. Select 1, select 2, whatever. We can make this a button. I didn't even get a koozie today. I'm sure Michelle's got 2 first right now. Michelle's got 2 first. Ah, she's doing the pan. Everybody's smiling away.
People want to know how many is
Hey, hey. We still got about 30. Executive session days. Well, I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of fewer executive sessions following Robert's order of action. And I'm officers, because we don't have a treasurer in-house, we don't have a ACC is going to get turned over to you now. It's all good. Yeah. Somebody's going to get gone. There's 4 powerful people on that board right now that don't like you talking to them.
So you can hear him quietly. Elected officers, the president is Marta Jones, vice president is Marta, secretary is
Nate?
Vicky, and treasurer is Nate. Okay?
Did you read that? Yeah, you heard it.
You heard it.
I
Okay.
hear you, don't have a mic.
Screw it. So the president is Marta.
Starry, starry night.